New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb. I'm the author of The Soul of Prosperity, which is available on Amazon.com, and several spin-off books from The Soul of Prosperity, which include Prosperity from A to Z, The 30 P's to Prosperity, Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, and my most recent spin-off from the book, The Soul of Prosperity, which is Forgive Your Way to Prosperity. I'm an interfaith minister and the senior minister of the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel, and I do spiritual counseling, coaching, healing, and channeling as well. But tonight, we talk about prosperity and all the different aspects of prosperity, because prosperity is more than just money and stuff. Prosperity is an inner energy, an inner feeling of well-being, and an inner feeling of love. And that love can take multiple forms on the earth. It can take the form of professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, we have a perfect job with wonderful pay, where we provide a perfect service in a perfect way. It could be relationship prosperity, where our relationships are sources of upliftment and reflect the love from within us. It can be spiritual prosperity, where we have the peace that passes all understanding. It, of course, could be logistical prosperity, where our lives just work well, and physical prosperity, where our bodies serve our purpose in harmony and in peace. And that prosperity that we talk about begins within us. And the prosperity that we nurture and cultivate within us, that energy that then shows up in our outer world, is impervious to what is happening in the outer world. Until it isn't.
Exactly.
Until it isn't. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is prospering through the savage setbacks. Prosperity through the savage setbacks. Some of you in your lives at some point or another may have experienced a savage setback. Many people in the nation perhaps had certain outcomes in the election that they did not want, and consider that to be a savage setback. In times like these, we wonder if there could be prosperity on the other side. And so we're going to discuss prosperity through savage setbacks and ways to get to the other side of the savage setback to find the prosperity that awaits us on the other side. And I'll give you 10 guesses as to who my guest is today. My guest is my dear friend, Ed Miller, author of the book Soul Power, a spiritual coach, a spiritual teacher, an author, a wise man, and one of our favorite guests on the show. And we're here at his studio. Hi, Ed.
Hi.
So glad you're
I
here.
know,
Thank you
been a
so
while,
much for being
too.
here. It's been a minute. Good to see you.
I know.
Yes. So we're going to talk about prospering through savage setbacks.
Yeah. So let me ask a question. When you say savage, how are you describing savage?
I use that in the context of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles talks about how when we are experiencing pain and suffering, we are having a savage fantasy because we have created this dualistic world where we are separate from God, and where because of that separation, we feel a sense of guilt. We feel a sense of undeservingness, and we feel a sense of shame, and those things, and we feel like we need to be punished. So we create all these savage fantasies based on that core fantasy that we are separate from God.
Yeah, I get it.
And so a savage setback is a setback that is simply a savage fantasy.
Yes, I get that.
Yeah.
You know, over the past month,
Mm-hmm.
many people were getting excited about change.
Yes.
And they were anticipating things being new and new attitudes, and we've been disappointed.
Yes.
And this disappointment feels viscerally. We feel it.
Yes.
And, I've been feeling it.
Yes. Yes.
And I have, what I've decided to do in this process is to allow myself to process this energy. Mm-hmm. Because instead of getting caught up in stories about things being wrong, or that's not what I wanted, or this is not the way it should be, or I didn't, all of that ego stuff.
Yes.
I start to be aware of what I'm feeling. If I'm feeling disappointed, I'm disappointed.
Yes.
If I'm feeling let down, I'm let down. If I'm feeling fear, because I'm feeling as though these circumstances are going to be a challenge to me and try to bring me down, that's what you feel. Yes. But be careful. I'm finding I need to be very careful about tying stories to any of the emotional energy that I've been experiencing. Yes. Because it can all that story does is make it ground you deeper into the sadness.
Yes. So you just gave us the first two hints. Number one, give yourself permission to have the feelings that you feel. And that's so important because I'm sure that many of our viewers have found that when they go to others to process their pain, others might have said, oh, get over it. Or there may be a world at large that says, oh, get over it, quit whining. And so what you said is so wise.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission.
Give yourself permission. And if you need to share it with somebody who's like-minded. Don't share your pain or your resistance with somebody who can't handle it.
Right.
And they're going to take it and use it either against you or to make up other stories for you to have to bear. Okay. So be careful that when you are having these intimate connections about your saddened feelings or your savage feelings, that you share with somebody who can relate to that and create the space for you to feel differently.
In other words, plant the seed where it can grow.
Yes.
Where the compassion, the love, the understanding, and the empathy can grow. Don't cast that seed in soil that is infertile.
And it's very important right now during this time that we take care of ourselves.
Yes. Okay.
Emotionally. That we be aware of not watching television if it triggers you. We're aware of not talking to our friends about things that make us feel vulnerable and make us feel dissatisfied. Okay. We need to sometimes just have pleasant moments, feel whatever comes up. And I'm saying, when I say feel it. Yes. Don't run from the feeling, feel it, but don't tell yourself a story about it.
Take a trigger fast is what you said.
Yes.
Take a trigger fast. They actually call it doom scrolling. When you go onto your phone and you scroll and scroll and scroll, and by the time you're done, you feel awful.
You're awful.
You feel awful.
Trigger, and everything is wrong.
Yeah. Take a trigger fast. If you are in this, take it trigger fast. Now, one of the things you said is don't get into your story.
Yes.
Because your story keeps you from your glory.
It absolutely
The
does.
story says, I am apart from God. I am vulnerable. I am not enough. I am victimized. There's something wrong with me, so I will be punished.
Well, it also says there's something wrong with you, too.
Okay, tell us about that.
Right now in this country, a lot of people are disappointed because they feel as though this is not what they feel this country should be.
Right.
So they have an interpretation of what things should be like, and they've been disappointed.
Yes.
So that energy is in their body. It means a lot to them. Whatever the story is, it means a lot. But they're not getting their way, so they're feeling anxious and disappointed about it. Okay. And don't know what to do with the energy.
So you heard the first clue. The first clue of what to do with the energy is take it. In my book, Pathways to Inner Peace, I have a whole chapter on emotional release. You take your feelings to your safe space that you have cultivated, where you feel safe, where you have become adept at calling forth the healing balm of God.
Yes.
And once you are in your safe space and you bring your feeling there, you have the feeling, you allow it to express in whatever way it needs to express. You honor the feeling instead of castigating yourself or doubting that you deserve to have the feeling or judging yourself for having the feeling. You honor the feeling.
Absolutely.
You honor yourself for having the feeling. One of the things that we forget to do as spiritual people is to honor the fact that we are in process.
In process.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so you honor yourself for having this feeling. This doesn't make me less spiritual. This doesn't make me any less holy. This is, let's face it, Jesus turned over the tables in the temple, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
That's what I heard too. So honor yourself for having the feelings.
Yes.
Then release them.
Yes.
Now that, to me, is the most important aspect of this. When you release the feeling, not only do you release the energy of the feeling, you release the energy and the magnetism of the story so that you are no longer addicted to the story.
Yes. Because we're used to traumatizing ourselves.
Yes.
And we watch the news and we get dissatisfied and we're then traumatized.
Yes.
So now we're in great trauma. What did you call it again? This time we're in the great, this is the name of this program today. Savage. Yes.
Setback.
It's a savage. It's a savage fantasy.
Yes.
And that hurts bad.
Oh, it does.
And we've got to stay away from trying to understand it. This is important. Try to understand it or find reason in it.
That is an excellent thing. A Course in Miracles lesson 25 says, I don't know what anything is for.
Exactly.
I don't know what this is for. I'm not going to try to, if I put a reason to it, I'm putting another story on it. And that story could be just as true as the last story.
Stories always have dark sides.
So I don't know what anything is for. I'm not going to judge this. I'm not going to judge myself for experiencing this. I'm going to release the feelings so that God can tell me what it's all about. Because when you release, that purging creates a void.
Yes, it does.
And when you're in your safe space, where you have become adept at calling forth the light of God, that light flows in to the place that you have released. That light is healing. It is comforting. It is soothing. It is transforming. And that light also has information and energy.
It does.
It has an energy of hope. It has information of truth. So that's where you get the truth. You don't try to make up another of your own stories. You get the truth from God.
Exactly. Our story is always a problematic.
Yes.
No matter how, some people tell me always look for a better story. Better stories always have dark sides.
Right.
Too.
A better story is just another story.
Exactly. So during this time of savage trauma that we're in right now, let's be kind to ourselves. Let's be careful with ourselves. Let's nurture ourselves. Let's be aware of our inner dialogue.
Yes.
And one of these inner dialogue that I'm being aware of right now is that's not what I want. This is not what I wanted. This is letting me down. This is, I had a vision for change.
Yes.
I felt we were on the precipice of it.
Yes.
And then I realized it wasn't there.
Yes.
So my heart was broken.
Yes.
What I've been doing for the last few days is just allowing myself to have a broken heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's put this in a context. You just gave me a brilliant idea. You are a wonderful catalyst. You are a wonderful teacher. Let's put this in the context of the ego, and let's put it all in the context of the ego.
Sure.
My ego is disappointed because my ego didn't get the idealized version of its set of events.
Exactly.
There is this gap between what my ego said should be and where my ego is.
Yes. The dissonance.
Exactly. There's this dissonance.
Yes.
And in that dissonance, I feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's look at it this way. That is our journey from ego to acceptance, right?
Yes.
So this is where we are. But guess what? This is where our country is too.
Yes.
Our country has this idealized version of the self, land of liberty, where all men are created equal, and all of that stuff. That's the country's idealized version of itself. Mm-hmm. We hold these truths to be self-evident, right? Mm-hmm. That's our country's idealized version of ourselves. But our country's ego is based on several things.
Yes.
Right? Our country's ego is based on the, let's call it the displacement of Native Americans.
Yeah, racism.
Let's call it the exploitation of enslaved labor. Mm-hmm. Let's call it the
denying women's rights.
Exactly. Yeah, let's call it denying women. Those are an aspect of our national ego. Yes. Now we aspire to this, but our national ego is that. Now the journey for us individually and the journey for us collectively is to move from ego to our highest God selves. Yes. And so what do we need?
Love.
We all need love.
Yeah, love is the answer.
Sing it, Dionne Warwick. What the world needs now is love,
it's
sweet
true.
love.
The only thing that's going to shift to greater awareness is the love.
Right.
And so all these enemies we now think we have and all these people that are wrong, we're going to have to find some way to fold them in love too.
Exactly. And one of the ways is, first of all, to bring that love home. Yeah. When you go to your safe space, your healing space, your place of release, what you're doing is you're substituting love where there was within you a place that you didn't feel loved. You didn't feel loved when the election didn't turn out the way you wanted. You didn't feel loved when that job didn't materialize the way you wanted. You don't feel loved when you fear being victimized once again. Right. So that's a place within you that is unaware of love's presence. And that's why you got triggered. You got triggered, I got triggered, we got triggered. That's why we got triggered. What do we do with that? We bring love to heal that place.
I agree
and
with that.
The more we bring the love in, the more we remember that we are from love, of love, for love. Mm-hmm. And when we have that energy of love moving through us in this way, it moves out and it loves the world. Yes. It loves our country. It loves those who may obviously need love because they are acting out in unloving ways by victimizing others. And so that is one of the strategies for coping, healing ourselves that we might heal the world. Because guess what? You were put here to heal the world. Of course, that begins with healing yourself.
It is. And everyone who takes on the challenge of healing themselves is creating more space for the whole world.
Yes, absolutely. So what we've learned in this portion in this segment so far is, number one, have the feeling. Number two, take the feeling where you can process through the pain. And now I also have on my YouTube page a channel session, a channel video where spirit takes us deep in processing the pain. So if you want some more information on processing the pain, go to my YouTube page and look up a video called Processing Through Pain. But what we've learned so far is go to your safe space. Give yourself permission to have the feeling. Mm-hmm. Process the pain. Do not judge yourself. Do not judge the situation. Right. Do not attach stories to it. Listen to God's story, because God's story is one of glory, where your story will always get you in the muck and the mire.
And the muck and the mire.
The muck and the mire, exactly. So that's what we've learned so far. So we're going to take a break and give you an opportunity to absorb everything we've discussed so far. And then, and even if as we're on break, type your questions in the comments and we'll try to respond to some of your questions here on the New Thought Media Network.
You know, I've been thinking, this volunteer dinner deserves a standout video, something with real impact. But hiring a big production team for just one video? The cost would be huge.
I get it. But have you thought about New Thought Media Network? They do amazing work beyond just broadcast programming on YouTube. They actually specialize in high-quality, one-off productions for events like ours. And I heard they're super affordable.
Really? I didn't realize they did that. So they focus on quality without the premium price tag.
Exactly. Plus, Dr. Robert runs the whole thing, and he's all about making great media accessible. We could get the professional look we need without going overboard on costs.
His sounds perfect. Let's get in touch with Dr. Robert and see if they can work their magic for us.
Well, hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert here from New Thought Media Network. We'd love to work with you on a custom video for your next event or project. From impactful storytelling to creating a unique avatar for your community or brand, we're here to bring your vision to life, affordably and professionally. Reach out and let's explore what we can create together.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity with Reverend Jim Webb and Edward Miller, teacher, coach, and author of the book Soul Power. Tonight we're discussing prosperity through the savage setbacks, because we want to realize that there is prosperity on the other side of a savage setback. And Ed and I were looking at some of the ways we address the setback first. So now, Ed, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that we can do to move through the feelings?
Well, not everybody's a meditator, but I'm a meditator.
Okay.
And I have been in meditation since the election.
Okay.
And it has helped me to relax and feel more accepting.
Uh-huh.
I also go swimming. I've been swimming like every other day.
So that's physical release.
Yes, physical release.
Okay.
And because that's where we hold all that energy.
Yes. Okay.
All that disappointment.
Uh-huh.
All that resistance to what is
Okay.
being held in our body.
Uh-huh.
And unless we can process it,
Uh-huh.
we're going to feel anxious all the time.
Right. So letting go physically, allowing spiritual energy to flow.
Yes.
Letting go physically in any way, and that might be swimming.
Well, swimming could be taking a walk.
Taking a walk in nature.
Exactly.
It could be.
I don't want to tell people what to do, but I know that they have to do it through their bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be walking laps at your gym.
Yes.
It could be getting on the treadmill. It could be cleaning your house furiously.
Could be knitting.
Yes.
And purling. I guess
Yes.
they used to do that.
Knit one pearl too. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Or it could be screaming at the pillow, screaming at the television, beating the pillow, or holding your inner child, letting your inner child.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
Yeah.
Because what's happened is that our inner childs have been disappointed. We've been let down. This is a big disappointment for our child.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting our way.
Mm-hmm.
The child is hysterical when they're not getting their way.
Exactly.
So we're just busy, kind of holding on to our child self and being in pain. But we have to process that contraction.
Yes.
So, whatever we can use, whatever tools are out there.
Mm-hmm.
But as we process it, we create more space.
Absolutely.
We heal the space.
Yes. And let's talk about the inner child just a little more.
Yeah.
Because The inner child is ultimately angry at God.
Oh, yeah.
Because what the inner child is feeling is, God, you let me down. God, you disappointed me. God, you held out this promise and broke your promise yet again. Anybody who had a father who perhaps was slightly less than present might know that feeling.
Interesting.
But what we think of the Father is what we think of God. And an aspect of the collective psyche of humanity is that feeling of separation from God, that feeling of separation from the Father, that feeling of betrayal by the Father.
Yes.
And this brings up that, and that's why, as you said, it's so visceral, because it is a primal energy.
It is a primal
We
energy.
fear that we won't get what we need for life from
Well,
the source
I
of
want to
life.
make you said something very interesting. It's a primal energy.
Yes, yes.
And that's why it feels so intense.
Yes.
And that's why we have to not think our way or reason our way out of it.
Right.
We have to the processing has to be in our hearts.
Because the energy is so pervasive within every aspect of us. It's primal. And that's why this is a good time to go and see if there's a therapist, a provider, a counselor to support you through it.
That's a good idea. Everybody needs somebody to talk to.
Everybody needs somebody to talk to. And, get yourself somebody who is adept at working with the emotional body and healing the emotional body. The energy that a practitioner like that has cultivated could be energy that you might find to be useful. And that could be another way of working with this.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I just thought of something else. Be kind.
Yes.
Look for opportunities to be outside of your contracted self and do something for others.
Yes, yes.
That really helps.
Yes,
be generous. Be thoughtful. Use your empathy during this time also. That helps to process things also.
Absolutely, because you know what that does? That cultivates the higher self that you want to get to.
Yes.
You're cultivating the energy of your higher self.
I love that.
When you're practicing that kindness. And that's really what you want to do, because that's the journey for all of us, and the journey for our country, and the journey for the earth is to get out of the ego self and get into the highest self. And so anytime you can cultivate the energy of the highest self, you've taken another piece of you that has been in pain and you've elevated it so that that piece of you can feel the light and joy of God instead.
Yes. I don't think any of us are ever going to handle this kind of disappointment well. I mean, we could be, a guru, and we still would be dealing with
a guru still stubs his foot on the
bedpost.
Exactly,
and it hurts.
And it hurts, and the guru says, "Oh, blank."
So I don't want to give people the impression that there's there's heaven on the other side of this, where it's all so easy and now I get it all. It's going to be process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the process is more joy, more peace, more light. And most importantly, more wisdom and knowledge how to get back to that place anytime that even as a guru you stub your toe and say, "Oh, blank." So those are some of the things that we can do. Now, we had a fascinating question by Jane Batt at 8:14, and I think that's a question that we need to address. So, Michael, if you could put up Jane Batt's question at 8:14. And the essence of the question is, do you think that there will be more creativity, more cooperation, more growth, and more healing of the earth as a result of this?
I think it could be. I think we could be, because I think people get to the point where there only so much is being accomplished by blaming and fighting with each other.
Right.
And if you want to get anything done at all, sometimes you've got to make compromise. You got to find a way to see the other person's point of view. You got to force yourself to be more empathetic. And that could solve big problems.
Absolutely.
We need to realize that there needs to be a realization that that person out there is not our enemy. They're just not.
That person is us.
Yeah. So I think that those are the kinds of things that we need to start surrendering to. And being available to. And read articles, books, videos that are inspiring.
Exactly. And the other thing, it's to recognize something that we just said, but I don't want it to just slip by as a throwaway comment. Our brother is us.
Yes.
The same disappointment we're feeling
is
the same disappointment that our brother may have felt. That brother in a town in the Midwest,
Yes.
where the steel mill closed 40 years ago. I'm talking about my brothers.
Yeah,
I grew up with my brothers. Where the steel mill closed 40 years ago. The graduating class at the height of the baby boom was 269 people. The graduating class now is 30 kids. The downtown looks like Gaza because all the buildings are boarded up. That person feels left behind, feels equally disappointed by God, equally forgotten by God, equally devalued, and equally victimized. So that person's not a mean person based on who they voted for. That person is hurting just like we're hurting. And the task is to realize that, again, Dionne Warwick, just our task is to bring in the love that heals us, but it also heals our brother.
It does.
Because, as A Course in Miracles says, I am not alone in the effects of my healing. When I am healed, I am not healed alone.
That's right.
So that's our task. And if there is something that we can say is can be a potential positive benefit of this, as A Course in Miracles lesson 189 says, all things are lessons God would have us learn. This is a lesson to have us learn, as Ed was saying, that we are one. We need to cooperate. We need to love each other. We need to call forth the light of God. And by doing so, that light heals our country and our world. So we want you to chew on that for a moment. We're going to come back with a few other things and some surprises here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity with Reverend Jim Webb, your host, and Ed Miller, author of Soul Power.
It's uncovering and embracing soul power.
Uncovering and embracing soul power.
Yes.
All right. You tell us how to uncover and embrace soul power. So one of the things you said in the last segment, Ed, I thought was so brilliant and requires a little bit more exploration, is this idea that one of the things that we can do is avoid blaming and projecting
Yeah.
And I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, you know, it's first of all, we as humans who are heavy ego driven, you know, our first interpretation is to start blaming.
Yes.
You know, it's somebody's fault. Somebody did something wrong. And then we tell ourselves a whole bunch of stories about wrong.
Right.
Now, none of those stories are healing or satisfying.
You did me wrong.
Exactly.
That's the essence of a blame. You did me wrong. And you know what happens when you've got one finger pointed?
Pointing three to you. Exactly.
Yeah. So what can we do instead of blaming and projecting?
I think we can. I know this. We had talked a little bit about acceptance. I think we have to be open and be willing to see things differently.
That's what you were talking about. What we were talking about when we talked about seeing our brother in the Midwest in one of those towns that's crumbling, who's very angry.
Yes, see it differently.
See it differently. Help me see this differently, which is what A Course in Miracles says is a miracle. Help me see this differently. Help me see.
Let me find humility so I can see it differently. You know, our ego doesn't want to see it differently. Our ego wants to defend and explain it and
make somebody else
wrong.
And so let me find the humility to see my brother is me.
Yes.
I am my brother. We are one. We are both hurting. We both need the light of God. I am very blessed because I have become adept at calling forth, receiving, and sharing the light of God.
I agree.
And that is why I'm here. So that's one of the things we can do. And you know what I found? That's one of the ways that we can find the prosperity on the other side. You know why?
Why?
Because when we take that energy that we have been wasting, blaming and projecting, we have taken an extremely valuable commodity and we have wasted it. Because everything we focus on, we are creating more.
So it's your attention. Your attention now is on a problem that doesn't even exist.
Exactly. And that's why they call it paying attention, because it's such a valuable commodity.
Yes.
Anytime and anywhere we use it, we are paying. And we are creating.
Paying and creating.
So when we are creating more division, when we are creating more criticism, when we are creating more separation, we are wasting creative energy. What if we could use that energy optimally to create our desire on the other side instead? What do you desire? You desire harmony? Use this creative energy to feel a sense of harmony within yourself. What do you desire? Safety? Use this creative energy to create a sense of safety within you. For whatever you create within you must show up outside of you.
I agree.
So that's one of the things that we can do. We can avoid blaming and projecting, and because that is a miscreation of the powerful sacred energy God gave you.
Yes.
And we can instead use that energy to create what we desire. So look at what you desire instead of what you are judging and castigating, and use the creative energy to create what you desire. Don't waste it blaming and projecting, because energy flows where attention goes. And when you send all your energy to blaming somebody else, when you send all your energy to that feeling of separation between you and somebody else, you are perpetuating that instead of the union and the peace that you want on the other side. So thank you. Those are some very good ideas.
I thought we had some good ideas today.
Yes, we did. So tell me, what else are you up to these days?
Well, I'm finishing up my book club. I have 2 more weeks, and I'm really enjoying it. You know, we're going through all the lessons in the Soul Transcendent.
And you're an excellent teacher.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of passion, enthusiasm. I'm looking forward to having face-to-face events. So, because I've been doing all these since the COVID. I've been doing
virtual.
All these and getting used to doing all these virtual events. But I want to go back to connecting with people. So that's one of my intentions in 2025.
Okay, cool. Sounds like you're up to some interesting stuff.
I always got interesting stuff.
You really do have some interesting stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else you're up to?
No, that's about it. What have you been up to?
Oh, well, one of the things I'm up to is this thing called mastering your life.
Mastering your life.
You've heard some snippets of it today, but it's about how do we move out of the ego self and into the highest self Because from that place of the highest self, we always have peace. From that place of the highest self, we always have clarity. From that place of the highest self, we are open to the wisdom of the universe. So to master ourselves, or to get into that space of mastery, we have to be self-aware, aware of our ego and its blocks. We have to be self-accepting, accepting ourselves completely and unconditionally. We have to be self-realized, realizing that we are the light of God made manifest. We are holy, pure, and perfect just as we are. And so what Spirit is doing, Spirit is guiding us individually by individual guidance, individual answers to our questions to get us to that highest self. And then when we get to that highest self, I'm doing a class on Thursdays called Manifesting from Your Highest Self.
Yeah.
Because, like that scripture that says, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible.
That's true.
We can manifest from our highest self that which we believe to be impossible from our ego selves.
Yes.
So we're going to use the techniques that Spirit teaches us to get to our higher selves. We're going to use those with some specific manifestation exercises, group support, coaching, healing energy, to manifest by using these techniques in experiential ways, to manifest from your higher self. Now, that's the good news. It's a fascinating thing, and that's the good news.
That's excellent.
The bad news is it's sold out.
So what are you talking about?
But there is an opportunity still, because we record these. They're on Zoom, and we record them. So the recordings are available. It's 8 weeks, 2 hours on Mondays, 2 hours on Thursdays for 8 weeks. The recordings are available, so you can experience this in your own time, at your own pace. You can hear Spirit's answers to questions. And let's face it, the questions that somebody asked on the recording are probably the questions that you've had. You can do the exercises at your own pace, and you can still feel the powerful results by simply auditing the class. That's what we call it, auditing. And you can get all 16 hours of these tapes for only $100. So you see how to text me. You know all the other ways to get in touch with me to do just that. So that's what I'm working on.
Sounds very, very good, man.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
But I want to thank you for your time.
Man, I always enjoy it when you come down and we do a session together.
It's always wonderful.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you. And our audience appreciates you too. So I want to thank you. We're going to tell our audience good night here on the New Thought Media Network.